My name is Chad Barnett. I am originally from Jefferson, Georgia, but now I live in Watkinsville, Georgia, which is near Athens.
My name is Kim Barnett. I've lived in Georgia all my life.
As a child, the only relationship I had with God was just going to church. My mom would take me to gospel singings, but there was absolutely no relationship with Jesus at all.
When I would hear church growing up, because my parents never went to church, as a family, we never talked about God. I say this a lot, God was only mentioned in a cuss word. I don't even recall having a Bible in our home. My home life was not good and they were struggling, so they never encouraged us to go to college. They never talked about it was get a job, go to work, graduate high school, and that was it. There was never any encouragement. Like, what do you want to do, Kim? What do you want to do when you grow up?
My young adult life was very challenging. I grew up in a home where there was no physical abuse whatsoever. Had great parents, but they were constantly fighting. It was really, really, really bad. I can remember going to bed at night, crying myself to sleep, praying, begging God to make it stop.
I dated a guy in high school, and I really can't even say the word dated, because back in the 90s, you didn't date. We didn't date, but he was my boyfriend. And we got engaged at 19, and we were married at 20.
I was married for 15 years. Had two daughters, and everything was great. We were going to church, every time the doors were open.
We were babies. We didn't know anything. I was working retail. He was trying to find jobs. We were really, really, really broke, had no money. Our
marriage, we're just getting really burnt out with just trying to live the Christian lifestyle. Things started to shift. We jumped into, drinking a little bit, stepped on over into the party scene, and things just really began to fall apart until I came home one day and my wife says she wanted divorce and wanted me to move out.
God was not in our marriage at all. He had his issues, I had my issues, and together we were a mess. So I thought divorce was just going to be my answer. I thought I was going to live the great single life. I was going to get an apartment, and I was going to be the cool single mom that all the kids wanted to come over. I just thought divorce was the answer, and it was definitely not. I never really had a single life, so I didn't even know, because I literally went from my bedroom of my parents into the role of a wife to the role of a mother. So I never did my 20s, the 21, drinking. I never went to college. I didn't know what single really was. Sister would always tell me, God hates divorce. So if you get back together with him, then in God's eyes, you haven't sinned. You just get back together with him. So, but I knew something was holding me back. I really don't know why I didn't try to pursue to fix that.
My drug use began when I graduated from high school. So shortly after that, I went off to college. It just spiraled out of control. Marijuana was something that I smoked daily, like cigarettes. That I would literally light one off the other all day, constantly, all day long. Just dropping acid, the mushrooms. And it wasn't like I ever felt like I was addicted to the psychedelics or the marijuana. I was just more addicted to the sensation of going out and getting plastered and having a good time.
The place that I worked at we were all females. There were like 7 females, and they were encouraging me to live the wild life. Go and just have all kinds of sex. Go and have fun. You deserve it. Not everyone there, but majority of them, they were just trying to encourage me. You're single. Love it. Enjoy your life. And in 2013, I was with a guy, and he met him on a dating app. I was that desperate. I had all these male attentions, but I still did the dating app, because if you've never done a dating app, those dating apps will, actually it wasn't even an app. We didn't have apps then. It was a dating website. man, you get all kinds of attention. You got ding, 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 ding. The computer's going crazy. He asked me to go to a wedding with him to be his date, so I did. And we really weren't a sexual couple. He was a nice guy, said he was a Christian. In fact, met him on a Christian website. So we drank a lot at that wedding and ended up going back to a hotel room with him. And that night, he raped me. At the time, I don't recall when that happened. I was like, that didn't happen to me. But over months and over years, I would be revealed, like, that's the stem of it. What happened that night? Like, why did I wake up naked? How did I wake up naked? I don't sleep naked. I chose to never talk about it. I deserved it. I was drinking in a hotel with a man that I should not have been in. I should not have been in that situation. Kim, you deserved this. You should not have been doing this. So I put it in a closet, locked it, never spoke about it.
Worked doing construction with a buddy of mine. He introduced me to methamphetamine. Back then we called it crank. We would use in the morning. By that afternoon, just coming down, use again. After, a few days of no sleep, no eating, you sort of crash and then right back into it. Methamphetamine is probably the best feeling I've ever felt in my life. People laugh when I say this. It's better than sex. The feeling that you have of being able to do anything, you're on top of the world, is just like none other. The problem is when you start to come down off of that high, it is the most dark, depressing feeling. It's unexplainable. Maybe like seeing the person you love most in your life get run over by a car, like the deepest, worst feeling in the world. So that drops you right back into saying, hey, if I take another hit, I can be right back in there. So it's just a cycle. Well, I got a job at a local utility where they did a drug test. So I, pretty much dropped all that. It was never like an issue. The addiction was, I think, just being succumbed to something, whether it be a legal drug or illegal. So I dropped all the illegal stuff for alcohol. That's when I really started drinking alcohol. And for several years, I was majorly into alcohol abuse.
After that happened, even though I never talked about it, there was some poison. It opened a pipe of poison in my body, in my mind. And so I pushed harder to try to get rid of that. How I pushed harder, I would get into relationships after relationships after relationships, sexual relationships. At any given time, I could have a date, have somebody, whoever. Men attention just was flooding into me. Walk into a bar, never buy a drink, and I get pregnant. And now I'm pregnant, single mom, divorced single mom, and I was already going to hell because I had a divorce. Now I'm really going to hell because I'm pregnant out of wedlock. I tell him I'm pregnant, and he was like, well, good luck with that. And I can remember him saying, why don't you just get an abortion? And I never even thought, like, that language had never even come into my mouth. I didn't want to lose him, so I have to have an abortion. Okay, fine, I'll have an abortion. So Memorial Day weekend of 2014, I find myself in an abortion clinic. And that's literally when I hit rock bottom.
What shifted, I don't know, life changes, the divorce, the way you think, I don't know what happened, but when I changed from a social drinker, someone who was fun to be around, to like angry, and I really started to just abuse alcohol. Like it was something that I could not come home and not have. I would go to work, but when I come home, even stop at the store on the way home, I've got to pop the top and have it. While I'm grilling, while I'm cutting grass, constantly drinking beer all day long and chugging liquor every single day was my life. It was my lifestyle up until the time I would fall asleep at night or pass out. when my wife asked me to leave, and I get to the driveway, cut the car on, and literally I'm like, I haven't really thought this out, but what am I going to do now? My homelessness was not like most that I see on the streets. Because of the guilt and the shame that I felt, I didn't want to tell anybody, because there was places I could have went to stay, but I chose to just cover all that up because I didn't want to talk with anyone about it. So I lived in my car. I would take showers at the place that I was working at the time in the weight room. It got so bad, this is silly, but using other people's towels that I would find in lockers, toothbrushes, toothpaste, soap. I know that's small to some people, but that's literally the darkness that I was in. Just so alone.
My life was literally out of control because I had lost everything. I had lost a home. I had lost a marriage. I had had a bankruptcy. I had had a repossession. I had had a foreclosure on the home that I loved. And I had been raped. I had been pregnant. And now I had had an abortion. It was a Saturday night. And I told God, I said, I will never go to another bar. I will never talk to another man. But I need you to do something. I didn't know a scripture. I didn't even own a Bible. It was no pretty altar call. There was no organ playing. It was Kim in a pink bathroom. And I asked God to take my life. In that moment, I felt the love that I had been searching for. And even though I didn't know any scripture to quote, I didn't even know one person in the Bible, I knew I had met the Father that I needed. And that's when my life, I can't say it changed, but that's when the poison started to dry up.
I met Kim through a buddy that I was working with. I got her number from him, and we started corresponding. Long story short, we met one night for the first time in downtown Athens.
Eventually, a friend of mine, she said, Kim, I'm getting you out of this house. Like, you have got to get out. Like, you're looking and you're stinking pretty bad. You got to get out of this house on the weekend. So she comes and gets me, and we go to downtown Athens.
I was not looking for a relationship. This may be censored, I don't know. I tell everybody I was looking for a booty call. That's all I was wanting. She was pretty. She seemed nice. She liked music like me. So that's all I wanted. But the moment that I laid my eyes on her, I knew that I had just had that feeling of, oh my gosh, like I'm in love with this woman.
I knew there was something different about him.
Although it took quite a while for things to change, I tell everyone that God met me through a beautiful lady named Kim Perry, and it changed my life forever.
We got married in 2016, and we were not living for God. We both loved God. We both referenced God. We both loved Jesus, but our lives were not reflecting the lifestyle of a child of God.
And then the dark part of me started really showing up as fruit in my life, the anger issues I was having. So one night we were at home, we got in a huge argument, and I leave and I go to a hotel in Athens. Kim ended up finding me that night, and it was probably the darkest night of my whole life ever.
I ended up finding him in a hotel, went to the hotel. I was so hurt because I was like, man, 2 months into a marriage and here I am again. This is just another one in the notch of my life.
Well, the next day she agreed to meet me at the Kroger. We meet in the parking lot. She pretty much gave me an ultimatum. You either stop the drinking completely, never another drink again in your life, or I'm gone. And at that moment, I had to make a decision. So I made a decision to give my life completely to Jesus. Now, I only knew what I thought that consisted of, which was I got to go back to church and I got to try to get my life back on track. Well, you know, that's religion at its finest. But it's been a process. But in that decision that day, I can say by the grace of God that we have both, myself and her, have developed a relationship with Jesus, and that has changed our life immensely, completely.
Yeah, Jesus. Yes, Jesus totally showed up. And it's not like, I don't even want to think he showed up. He was always there. There's nothing in this world. As much as I love my husband and I love my children, they don't even come close to the love of God and Jesus and that transformation. So I can remember, I didn't know any scripture. I didn't know who Abraham was. I didn't know anything. I didn't even know, I don't even think I've read a sentence past in the beginning. Chad worked, he provided for our home and allowed me to stay at home and work on Kim. Work on this relationship between Kim and Jesus. There's an attorney inside of me that never got to be in the court, so I'm a questioner. I want to know why. Why did Jesus have to go to a cross? Why did his blood have to be, spilled for me? Why was Abraham chosen? Why? That was always, I was like a little kid. I was literally like a child. I was in my spiritual Pampers, and I wanted to know why.
Everything changed. And his grace has been so good toward me. I know it doesn't work for everybody the same way, but toward me, he has shown me who he really is just by all the stuff I've been through in life. He has shown up on the other side of that and replaced and restored 20 times better than I could have ever done on my own.
A fire happened. It was ignited. And I know God, I know when I meet Jesus, they're going to say, it's about time. And man, when you're hungry, God will serve the most appetizing meal in his word.
Once we experienced, I say we, my wife and I, once Kim and I experienced what he had done in our life and what he was doing in our life and is still doing, it caused us to see other people and and gave us the desire to help them out of the very same pits that we were actually in.
Oh, you can't shut me up about Jesus. My hope for the future is to tell every single person that I come in contact with, everybody.
I want my life to be a complete and a perfect replica of who Jesus is. Every single day, whether I'm in a convenience store or in Walmart or on the streets preaching, it is my desire to see lives changed, and I want that because my life has been changed.
God will use anyone, any story, anyone that is willing to go out and be used.